Okay, so I will call to order the special meeting of October 5th at 5:02. And may I have approval of the agenda
I'll move to approve the agenda.
and a second?
I'll second.
Very good. So all in favor? So
Yes.
moved. Okay. Public comment on agenda items. So we do have one public staff, so I'm not sure if there's any public comment. But do we have anything on the virtual public comment?
No, there's no public comment.
Okay. So the next item we have is action. We actually only have an action agenda this evening, and we will open the public hearing at 5:03. And what is being considered is the acceptance of instructional material funds assurances and adoption of resolution 22-13, certification of provisions of standard aligned instructions.
And so as a part of this, you'll notice in the within the document that we do not have adequate social studies or science student materials at Redwood. I'm not sure how that evolution came around, as that adoption happened in 2007. So even if we could find the materials, I don't know that they're relevant or really worthy of our modern approaches to things. So we have formed committees at both Dana Gray and at Redwood, because we thought a K-5 adoption kind of makes the most sense in those areas, so there's some continuity. And so they are looking at those adoptions, and we'll hopefully have a recommendation to us for the spring, so that we can have everything in place for the 23-24 school year, which is the recommendation that will come from the county office around this as a base of this. So we're kind of just already trying to be ahead of what their recommendation is and say, yes, we're working on that as we're moving forward.
Great. Okay, does anyone have any questions, clarifications? So it looks like this is a resolution that we need to approve, and it has a list of all the curriculum that we do have, and then our plan to be current with other materials. And I think we need to just make note that this is a special meeting on the last paragraph of the last page. But otherwise, and the certification by the clerk.
Okay.
And so I'll just read, since we are recording this evening, just if someone does want to respond to us during the meeting, that they can use the board meeting at fbusd.us, and we will make all attempts to share and record any submissions. And then, so that's how you can make a comment on this item, or you can run down to room 306 and make an in-person at the podium and have 3 minutes. So, are there any other questions? Otherwise, we will close the public hearing at 5:06. And may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve item 2.1. Do you want me to read the whole thing?
The title?
Sure. Okay, consider acceptance of instructional materials, fund assurances, and adoption of resolution 2213, certification of provision of standards aligned instruction.
And I'll second.
Very good. Roll call, please.
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
and Trustees Schneider and Mattson are absent. Motion carries.
Very good. And we'll go to the next item, which is 2.2, which is considers approval of schedule waiver request for a waiver for community day school minimum day school day pursuant to Ed Code 4866A. The Education Code Authority for the request comes from section 33050. And we will open the public hearing for this item at 5:07.
And so just a little background for this. If approved, this waiver will allow us at ALTED to have an actual collaboration day. The students aren't losing any instructional minutes, they're just shifting to the other days. The format, I'm sorry, with this waiver request, it looks just, it's an online system that you just have to put all those answers into, so some of the things, obviously you know as the board. But, we had to go there. Connie, I don't know if there was anything else you would like to.
No, we are hoping.
Do you want to go to the podium so everyone can hear your, thank you.
I don't even know if this is on.
It is.
Hi, I'm Connie Belli, the principal of Alternative Ed. The only thing I would say is we want to have a minimum day for the collaboration, and the only way to do it is just lengthen the day on the 4 days on either side of the Wednesday, because community day school students, which is Lighthouse Community Day School and Shelter Cove Community Day School, kids have to go 360 minutes every day. There's no minimum days by law, and so there is this waiver that we can have if we lengthen it on either side. And the teachers are behind it. And so this just needs to go to the state, and then the State Board of Education hopefully meets next month, and hopefully will approve it.
And
Yes.
have you talked to the students?
We've talked to the students, and they are excited to have the same. They won't get out as early as the other schools, but at least they'll have a minimum day, because it's really hard for them to watch every kid, all the kids walking by on Wednesdays, and they don't get out. They're not as big a fan. They have to go a little bit longer, but they're okay with it.
Good, well,
Yeah.
at least they see the positive.
Yeah, yeah.
For
For
sure. The other
sure.
schools had to do that as well, so it's not,
Yeah.
They just did it a long time, or
right.
further
Long
back
to-
than
yeah,
that.
It was about 15 or 16, yeah.
yeah.
So this is something that you have been trying to put in the works, so I think that you've waited and done your due diligence. So is this something that we have to do annually until it kind of, after a while, just to monitor it, and then eventually it'll be, because we don't think we have to approve?
I think it has to be annually for a period of time, and then it's like every other year or something, is what I read. I think we'd have to renew it again next year.
Yeah, basically it's this first year, and then in the spring, because it's a renewal, we can renew for 2 years, I think,
Right.
at that point.
Okay.
So,
Very good.
I will move, oh, wait, I guess you have to close sorry.
Yeah, just looking to see if we have any other public comment.
There is no additional public
Okay,
comments.
so I will close at 5:10 for the public hearing, and may I have a motion?
All right, I will approve, or move to approve the approval of the schedule waiver request for Community Day School Minimum School Day pursuant Ed Code, 48663. The Education Code authority for this request comes from section 33050.
And a second.
I second?
Very good. Roll call, please.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
and Trustees Mattson and Schneider are absent, so the motion carries.
Very good. Thank you. And the next action
Thank you
item.
for coming, Connie. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
President
Thank you.
Paoli, did you close the hearing?
Yes, at 5:10.
okay, great. Have a great anniversary.
Buggy little fly.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Have a good evening. So 2.3 is unaudited actuals. So may we have our update?
Yeah, the packet you have is very similar. There were a couple little tweaks to the information that you got whenever that was. And say last week, but I know it wasn't just last week. I started thinking. The main thing that's been added are all of the other funds. We still didn't get all of the final information from the county, so they're likely next year you'll see some little minor audit adjustments or year-end adjustments to things, because we still don't have the cash balance from the county. We still don't have fourth quarter interest rates from, and by the county I mean the actual county of Mendocino. So we're still waiting on insignificant immaterial things to add in, but those will be added as prior year items in this year. Nothing substantial changed from what you saw last time. So whole package and approving that.
And then this goes to the county MCOE.
Yeah, they actually already have all of it and to start with.
Gotcha.
Because they're on a tighter timeline than they were also.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Wendy? The only thing that I was just curious about, totally, I mean, it's just, this is our MIG training. So on page 54, which is the PDF, page number 54 of 172, it's entitled Child Development Fund. And then number 8, about under B, there's something called Plant Services, and it's gone up. Can't even read that. The numbers
Okay, some of
are
that.
like
that's-
10,000%.
Right, that's because we always allocate certain costs to Fund 12. Fund 12 has to be used completely every year. It's our preschool,
Okay.
state preschool money. And in past years, I've lopped off a lot of what should have been allocated to them because there wasn't enough money there. This year, there was enough money that we were able to allocate indirect costs to them more fully than we have been in the past, so that's why
Okay.
that number went up so
Yeah,
much.
and it, I mean, it's a minute, I mean, it's not a very large sum of money, but it makes the percentage look really
Right.
crazy. But what is like, why is it under that?
So
What is plant services?
it's things like allocated custodial costs, and we base that on square feet.
So facility,
Utility costs for Redwood,
Okay.
based on numbers, and again, square feet, things like that, we allocated a little bit of it to the preschool because they use those services.
Right.
And so we can allocate those costs based on that.
okay, perfect, thanks. Because it's only $20,000, so it's not a huge sum of money, but it makes it look like a
Right,
lot.
yeah, I can see where the increase would be.
That's
alarming.
statistics for you.
Right.
Okay, so if there are no other further questions and no public comment, may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve item 2.3, unaudited actuals.
In a second?
I'll second.
And roll call, please.
President Paoli,
Yes.
Trustee Makla,
Yes.
Trustee Babcock,
Yes.
and Trustees Schneider and Mattson are absent. Motion carries.
Very good. And thank you, Wendy, for all your efforts during this strange, I know it's a lot of work, but I think you kind of enjoy it maybe, or that you have endured.
Part of me that does like the little puzzle part.
Right, that you're putting the pieces back together, but to have the COVID dollars infused in a very complicated, crazy budgeting, I think we all can say we appreciate your details and number crunching. And yeah. So 2.4 is the next item on action, Family Support Services Agreement for 2022-23.
All right. So this agreement is going to allow the work to continue with families from underrepresented populations in our district to help those families feel some support, helping them engage. And I've even been able to have a conversation with a parent who has been working with this consultant and is feeling empowered to support our youth kind of outside of school and building relationships and building community that way. So we are actually seeing some coming to fruition from this work. Want to empower other families to be a part of that as well. And so an example, I was talking to Connie earlier today about working with the alt schools. It's really where this parent has kind of found a foothold. He was just happened to be at the park playing some basketball, and students started approaching him and talking to him about basketball and how they would love to be able to feature their basketball skills as a part of the alt ed, and that kind of developed into a bigger conversation about them just feeling represented in the community and supported in their endeavors, and so I really do see the fruition of this work already starting to come forward. I think this year the goal is to try to get our administrators tied in with this work on the community side of things. I know they were very involved with the work that happened with staff directly last year. So this can get transfer this and build those relationships in community now with our administrators being a part of that, and hopefully our staff as well. So.
Okay, great. Any questions from the board? No. The only question I wanted to ask is services were provided for Dana Gray families, and so it's going to, is it kind of a referral if there's a need at another site? Because everyone knows
Yes.
these services are available, and it looks like this is just for
Yeah,
the
so-
contract year.
Yes, and I've even got some families who have approached me not even knowing about these services, and so I'm kind of at a point where I can say, okay, we're gonna get you connected, and we're gonna kind of set up a set time
Okay.
on a weekly basis that they can meet with the consultant, and then hopefully once a month, he'll come to Fort Bragg, and I'll be a part of that meeting that we can
Great.
have face-to-face time with everyone, and then that's where we'll start to invite in our admin, so we get any families feel they have a face in the district that they can connect with and know that they have a seat at the table with them.
Right.
Oh, that's
Engagement and
great.
support
Mhm.
as the whole district. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, thanks for clarifying the contract and tightening it up a little bit.
Yeah,
Because I know the
that's really good.
services were positive at the site level with families.
Mhm.
Okay? So any public comment? Otherwise, I would like to request a motion.
There is no public comment.
Thank you. And a motion.
I'll move to approve the Family Support Services Agreement for 22-23.
I'll second.
Very good. Roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And President Paley?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Okay, thank you. And the next item is agreement for transfer of personal property.
So, woo-hoo, we're going to get a building from MCOE right across the parking lot here. So the kind of the first one you see moving from left to right, that's right in front there, that we will use for our bilingual family liaisons. So they have an actual set location as opposed to parents saying, oh, you're here, you're
Oh,
here.
good. Yeah.
That kind of thing, and gives them a space. The next conversation with MCOE is going to be, can we get more of the space there? Because I think they're just using it as storage, and so my thought is, well, if we could offer storage somewhere else, could we do a little exchange where you're not taking up good meeting space with that?
Right.
Because that is the concern that the family liaisons have is, well, what if we want to have a little bigger meeting? And I said, for now, we've got the John Dietrich Center. It's got some great space in there, so let's fully use that. It's right across the parking lot. But they would like to have some more space. So I was like, yeah, I'll keep asking. The worst they can say is no. So,
And so that'll enable our family liaison staff to have a designated spot that they could have extra meetings, but they probably will still be on site to directly meet with to
so
see,
they'll still
to
come
be
to
present,
sites, but this will give them
Right.
an office that says,
private. So if there's a more
Right.
And
in-depth
for the
conversation.
paperwork and-
to
or if
happen.
a family's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know who to go to, say, we go to this building, we'll get you
Gotcha.
started and go from there.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, they're really excited. They've already, Mr. Brown's already made them a sign.
Oh, great.
And I said, can we get that sign in Spanish as well? And so we'll have that hanging up. So we'll have their shingle out, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's great.
Barry has looked at the building?
Yes.
I know that
Barry
there
and
was
Ari have been
rumors.
working
Okay.
on it since MCOE passed the resolution. We can't officially take ownership, but they've been doing some of the preliminary things, getting things cleaned up and
Mhm.
making sure that it's habitable as soon as possible.
Right, because that was the delay during the summer and why they changed locations themselves.
Mhm.
Want to make sure.
Yeah, so there were, I think, some window work that was gonna be done and some other pieces that they're,
Carpet's cleaned.
Yeah.
it's gonna be.
And it gets us with not having 3 people in an 8 by 10-foot office. So
Right.
3 of them are working in that one little office, so they have more space.
Right, wow,
Yeah.
okay. Sounds like an
I think
improvement.
it's great for them to have a place where they could say, we're here from 8 to 10.
Mhm.
Then we go to sites just for families to be able to go.
Definitely.
one
And
spot.
not to have the office on wheels.
Right.
It's no fun.
Well, and we talked about also the referral to the clinic services that are at the John Dietrich
Mhm.
Center in Lincoln.
Oh, yeah.
It's right there, so you can walk them across the parking lot and say, this is where you come for these services.
Right,
Perfect.
And same thing with the early start, if we have some families who don't know that exists, they have their offices there too, so.
okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Great.
So if there's no public comment, may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve item 2.5, agreement for transfer of personal property.
In a second?
I second.
Very good. And roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And President Paley?
Yes.
And then the motion carries.
Thank you. So the next item on the action agenda is esports program and coaching stipend for Fort Bragg High School.
Okay, so we realize that there's quite a bit of interest, and CIF is actually moving forward with
Really?
esports as a thing through CIF. So
Wow.
we said, well, we might want to get with this, and we figured we actually have about 20 students. I think it's 19 or 20, somewhere in that ballpark, that are interested in the program. So we said, well, we need a coach for that and that. So with the approval of this is just approving that we start the program. There will be another contract that we'll bring forward at the regular meeting that we're waiting on. It's about $1,500 that provides us with the licensing for the games throughout the year, and they set up the competitions and whatever that back end piece looks like. And I think we also get a Nintendo Switch as a part of that. That was what Bruce was saying. It's like, okay. But we have some computers on campus that can run the programming and whatnot. And so I think it's a good venture to start with, and if for some reason it fizzles, okay. But I was reading, I think they gave out something like $15 million in scholarship funds for esports. It's kind of a big thing, and I didn't realize until I put my toe into this how big of a thing it is.
Well, that's great. We'll reach a lot more students.
Yes, and so it's a way to get those kiddos engaged, and I guess it's like the actual competitions that aren't virtual, like when it's an actual, like the tournament or whatnot, there's a huge audience.
Really?
It's a really big thing. So I said, I didn't know. And then I read an article about someone building, some school was building like a multi-purpose room, but it was also a esports arena, that's what they were calling it. So it would have the screens and everything set up so that they could actually host competitions and things. So
Wow. So
Wow.
there are going to be designated schools, because you could do this all virtually, and that was why I was thinking it was getting pushed forward during
Yes.
pandemic. But you would maybe host, theoretically, everyone would be at one school, or not necessarily, 'cause how do you watch?
I think kind of as a special type
Like a
thing,
tournament.
like a tournament, like
Mm.
how we have volleyball or
Mhm.
basketball tournaments. The same kind of thing where it's kind of a big deal to go do that one special thing in the season, and then the remainder of the season would all be virtual and
Gotcha.
no travel involved.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah, I agree that another option for each child to decide if that's what's engaging to them. Yeah, for sure. So if we don't have any public comment or other questions, may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve 2.6 esports program and coaching stipend.
I'll
And a
second.
Very good. And roll call.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
President Paley?
Yes.
And Trustee Makla?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Very good. And we have our standby AB 361 teleconference review. And I had just read a press release stating that it was going to be continued, I think, until like 26 or something, but you could only use this, I guess I'll sum it up layman terms, like you can only do this twice for convenience. Like you really need to have good cause to use this type of, like avoiding some of the normal postings. But it's an option,
And if
so.
there are other little nuance changes to it, we'll, look at it and.
Yeah, report out so that we're proper, but yeah, if you should have just cause, but if you don't, you could get away with it twice, it sounds like. But we'll read further, maybe we'll get a legal
Right.
memo.
I'm sure we'll get a legal memo soon with it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, so that
Interesting.
was just
Well,
announced.
I really think we were thinking of it if all 5 of us got COVID or something, that we needed,
Exactly.
yeah,
Right.
that we
Exactly.
needed a meeting that,
That we could
was
do
for
it
that.
last
Yeah, it
minute,
wasn't-
because we theoretically could have missed the normal, like if we could post at our homes, if it was because we were out of the area. If it was truly COVID, we would have missed those deadlines, and so this still allows us to be able to do a meeting virtually to take care of business, not just out of convenience. So that's why we keep renewing it, for that reason, that we don't really want to use it as convenience. But if for some reason we all came down with, or got flooded, we can't get here, we could still make sure that business is being handled.
As long as we still have the internet.
Exactly, as long as we
True.
still have the internet.
That was down for a couple
And
days.
electricity, yeah, all those things.
Yeah, and that, yes. So, because that, the other, anyway, so we'll just go ahead and, may I have a motion?
I'll move to approve item 2.7, AB 351, teleconference review.
In a second?
I second.
And roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Makula?
Yes.
President Paoli?
Yes,
And the motion carries.
very good. And I'm wondering if we, since we are going to have this extension for a few years, if we could put it under consent. Maybe
I
we could
think-
find out
I
if we
think
can do that.
But yeah, we'll look into it to see, because I know at some point they had said no, but I think this has kind of evolved now to a point where we could probably just continue to carry it there.
Mm-hmm.
So I said there were a few little
Tech-
tweaks in the language on a couple of different areas of it that we'll figure out.
Right, because before this, when we did have some sort of something that went down, we would open the meeting and continue to the next day. And that's a way to kind of skirt this if it wasn't a health, or a safety issue, because I know that happened. Well, we actually had to do that last December because our meeting was a day early for our regular
Right. Oh,
meeting, and we
yes.
continued it to the next day, so that we were meeting our organizational meeting requirements. So there are other ways around this if it's not a health and safety.
And if it is a health and safety, then we've got pretty wide breadth to be able to do what we need to do. So.
Right, perfect. And so we come to the end of our special meeting, which is 5:29. So I guess we will be on a bit of a recess until our closed session.
Do we have to wait?
I think technically you may want to, but really with no one, the only reason why you would is if someone wanted to speak on 2 items in open session on the public comment, and maybe their comments would change how you vote for these, if these are a voting item. So that's the only technicality. I would think, given this is a special, and historically, we haven't had any public comment at closed session in the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years,
Many years.
many years, that we could probably just look out, and if someone comes in, then we would hope we are timely and we haven't had any,
Well, then I don't see public comment on the student discipline item
being forthright, yeah, that
Right,
we won't
that's-
expect that. I mean,
the
normally
only-
there aren't. So, will we close? So do we have any public comment and closed session items at this point?
We do not.
Do not?
No.
No, I say we do.
We do not.
Okay, so I guess we can adjourn to closed session at 5:30. Guess we can make a note of that. And will we be moving to the next room? Because the recording is
Yes.
happening right now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, and then we'll return back to read out if there are any final actions in closed. So we will reconvene back to open session, and we will report final action in closed.
So it was moved by trustee Makula and seconded by trustee Babcock and adopted by on the following vote of the board members to expel student 2203 by a vote of 3 ayes, 0 noes, 2 absent, and no abstentions.
A stipulated,
I'm sorry, to have a stipulated agreement or stipulated expulsion agreement for the student.
very good. And may I have a motion to adjourn
I'll move to adjourn.
in a second?
I'll second.
And 6:21, so moved. Okay.